rights, how are rights established? And we can look at, let's begin at natural rights. An easy way to try to explain this is how a right is established is using something we're all very familiar with, and that's standing in line. Okay, we've all stood in line. We stand in line at the DMV. We stand in line at McDonald's. We stand in line at a theater. So we all stand in lines, and so we know what that is. So when we show up there and say we're the first one in line, we stand there and we create a right. And we create a right because we were, it was our preemptive right. I am first in line, and the legal term for that is prior appropriation. And so you go and you stand in that line, and you have created a right to be there. And that's called natural law. It's natural. It's self-evidence, as the forefathers would say. We see that. We recognize that. Now, the second thing to create that right is you must use it. If you don't use it, you will lose it. And for example, the line gets very long, and you say, hey, I want to go outside because I'm tired of standing here. And you come back and you say, hey, I was first in line. And the guy says, well, wait, you left. You lost your right to be, you're no longer preemptive. You left. You lost it. Now, the third thing you need to create a right, a property right, a right, is you must defend it. So you're standing there, the line is very long, and in comes a bigger person. And he says, I'm not going to stand in the back of this line because I'm big. And so he walks up in front and he pushes you out of the way, and he says, I'm in front. Now you have one or two things you can do. You can say, oh, that's not fair, and then retreat and stand back behind him, and in which case you lose your right. Or you can defend your right. And if you defend your right, then you can try to say, no, you must leave. And you may even get other people that are standing behind you, yeah, that's not right. You got to leave. And you may get other people that believe that you had a right that will support you. But whether they support you or not, unless you defend your right, you lose it. And Thomas Jefferson said, we have only those rights we defend. Unless you're willing to defend your rights, you will lose them. That's what the early patriots did. They were willing to defend their rights. And so that's how rights are created. Now, so how is a grazing right created? Did we get this from the BLM? Of course not. BLM wasn't around when these rights were created. You know, a rancher, a sheep herder came into the country out here on the strip. It was very open, very empty, and said, well, I see the spring here. I can run 75 head, or I can run 175 head off of this spring, and so I claim this spring as my right, and I'm running cattle on it. So one, he's claimed it. Two, he's using it. Well, in comes another rancher, and he's a little bigger, and says, man, I need that spring, and because I got more cows and stuff, and so he may try to claim that spring as his. The first rancher, if he doesn't defend that, he will lose that. And unfortunately, or however you like to look at it, that's how they were created. We did a lot of shooting of each other and fighting to maintain our rights and draw these lines of grazing rights in the beginning. And now it's pretty well settled. There are fence lines on just about every dividing line between these grazing rights, and we're pretty civil one with another as cowboys, as ranchers, in respecting others' rights, their grazing rights. And so review it again. You must claim it. And that doesn't have to be claimed. That doesn't have to be written in a code of law or anything. That's a natural right. But once you claim it, then the county's responsibility, or the purpose of the county, is you can go there and you can actually record that. That's a step of claiming that right. And so, for example, my rights to graze out there are based upon water. I have some dirt tanks, I have some springs, I have some trick tanks. And each of these waters can run so many cows. When I purchased this, and not from the BLM, I purchased it from somebody else who had created the prior preemptive rights, and I bought it from them, and then I went and I recorded it in Mojave County. And so I've claimed my right. And now I'm using that right. Continuous use. It's been continually used from the very first ranchers who created that preemptive right. And it has gone down legally till now I own it, having purchased it from them. Now, the third thing is I must defend it. And that's what Cliven Bundy did. He was defending his natural right, his preemptive grazing rights, or prior appropriation. And so that's the issue upon which rights are created. Now, the Constitution, these rights exist separate from the Constitution, but the Constitution does codify it.